Looking into the DRR, Article 15. Now, this declaration is also the declaration that allows an individual to become a human rights defender, to defend human rights against the state party. And it provides protection for you if you choose to operate in that capacity. Article 15 says the state, meaning the government of your country, whether Canada, America, UK, the state has the responsibility to promote and felicitate the teaching of human rights at all levels of education and to ensure that all those responsible for training lawyers, law enforcement officers, the personnel of the armed forces, and public officials include appropriate elements of human rights teaching in their training program. So public officials, the ministers, the ones who call you on the telephone on behalf of the office of the CRA or on behalf of the office of the local municipality. Well, who are you? Well, I'm a public official. I represent the government. I represent this office of the government. Oh, great. So if you're a public official, right, then you're supposed to be aware of human rights. And you have an obligation to respect human rights and not to take any action aimed at the destruction of human rights. So by virtue of your office, right, there's a responsibility on you. And if you don't know of that responsibility, guess what? Ignorance of the law is no excuse, right? Article 10 of the DRR says, no one shall participate by act or by failure to act where required in violating human rights. So if you're a public official, right, and you fail to act when required, or if you're a public official and you take actions against human rights, well then you're in violation of your obligation. You're in violation of your duty. And you can't claim to the fact, well, I didn't know I had a duty towards human rights. Well, that's the government's problem. They should have taught you. They should have trained you. But now you want to step and interfere in my life. And you want to use statutory law to try and limit and abridge my rights. And you're taking actions aimed at the destruction of human rights, even though you want to claim ignorance. So if a judge or a lawyer or a police officer or a public official fails to act or takes action against your human rights and violates your human rights, then they are accountable. I refuse to give up my full legal capacity. I refuse to allow you to treat me as a statutory creature created by law, owing duties and obligations to enactments. I refuse to take those actions. I refuse to act in that capacity. Why? Well, because I'm defending human rights. And if I give in to your tyranny, and if I give in to what you're trying to do to me, then I'm participating by failing to act, and I'm violating human rights by allowing you to do this to me. And it says that no one shall be subjected to punishment or adverse action of any kind for refusing to do so. Well, I'm not going to take recognition as that statutory creature. Well, we're going to punish you, and we're going to put some adverse action upon you because you're refusing to do so. Oh yeah, go ahead and watch what happens. Because when you do that, you're violating human rights. You're taking actions and you're failing to act to protect human rights, which is your obligation. Article 9 says, in the exercise of human rights, including the promotion and protection of human rights. So not if you're just exercising them on your behalf, right? But if you're promoting and protecting human rights, as referred to in the present declaration, everyone has the right individually and in association with others to benefit from an effective remedy and to be protected in the event of the violation of those rights. To the same end, everyone has the right individually, alone, on your own, and in association with others, to complain about the policies and actions of individual officials and government bodies with regard to violations of human rights. Now, they're going to tell you how to do this by petition or other appropriate means. Now, by petition, right, that means go into the civil courts, go into the superior courts, and petition the court and complain about the actions of the public official and complain about the actions of the government body, and let a judge decide what he's going to do. Well, when you do it that way, right, you get a 60-40% that the judge is going to do what's right. And if the judge doesn't do what's right, then you got to go after him. You got to lay an information against him for failing to act and participating in the destruction of the human right. But here it says, or other appropriate means. So petition is for the court, right? And other appropriate means can be used to competent domestic, judicial, administrative, or legislative authorities, or any other competent authority provided for by the legal system of the state, which should render their decision on the complaint without undue delay. So the individual can use other appropriate means to deal with a limitation or abridgment of a fundamental human right. And these other appropriate means, right, they've been created by the state. And these other appropriate means are competent authority, which is provided for by the legal system of the state. Well, what are they talking about here? Well, they're talking about the Criminal Code of Canada. They're talking about laying an information against the official. They're talking about laying a charge against the official through the authority of the Criminal Code. For what? Well, for failing to act where required or taking actions against human rights and fundamental freedoms. And when you look into the Criminal Code of Canada, right, you will find articles of law that will specifically deal with these type of actions that a public official will take against you. And when you do so, right, they can't hide themselves anymore. They can't hide behind the office, and they can't hide behind the statutory enactment, claiming, oh, I was just following the rules of the enactment. Well, that doesn't matter. You had the responsibility. You were to know. They were to teach you about human rights. You were to understand the concepts and the principles of human rights. But because they failed, and then you took actions, now you are personally responsible. And you cannot hide behind the office, whatever office it may be. You participated by your actions, or you failed to respect human rights by your actions. Therefore, you personally are now accountable. Yeah, but I was just following my job. I was just following the procedures. I was just following what I was told to do. Well, that's no excuse. You had the obligation to know human rights. If you're sitting in a position of authority, you had the accountability to know. And you had the duty upon you personally not to take actions to destroy human rights, which you did. Now you're accountable. And the judge cannot hide behind his office. And the lawyer cannot hide behind their office. And the police officer cannot hide behind their office. Your office will not protect you anymore. And if you choose to go into court, into an original jurisdiction of a superior court or the federal court, then subsection B here kicks in. To attend public hearings, proceedings, and trials, so as to form an opinion on their compliance with the national law and applicable international obligations and commitments. So you can go there individually, or you can go there in association with others. You can go there with a group of individuals, human rights defenders, and sit in that public hearing and watch the proceedings. And the minute the judge and the minute the lawyer takes actions aimed at the destruction of the human right, then you have every right together to lay an information against the judge and lay an information against the lawyer to put a stop to their behavior. And because you went there as a group, not as an individual, right? When you lay down the information, you are all witnesses to the actions of the judge and the actions of the lawyer. You're not going to court to cause a ruckus in the court, like you see these sovereign citizens go to court and make big ruckus in the court and wind up getting arrested and thrown on the ground. And you're not going to court to try and exercise these rights and force the court to listen to you and tell them you don't have jurisdiction, you have no authority. It's not what you're doing. You're there to watch what they do. You're there to observe their action. And the minute they take actions aimed at the destruction of the human right, whatever it may be, then you caught them. You've got them. You have the evidence that you need to lay the information against them and to charge the individual to put a stop against them from continuing to act this way and to hold them accountable. You're not going to court to cause problems. You're going to court to witness what's going on, to make sure the judge and the lawyer are not taking actions aimed at the destruction of human rights. Why are you there? Well, I'm there to defend human rights. That's why I'm here. And I'm watching the judge and I'm watching the lawyer. And the minute they do something that is not correct, according to the principles of fundamental justice, we're going to lay it on you. And you're going to realize you're going to have to stop doing this. Even if you're there for your own case and you're dealing with the lawyer and the judge concerning your own case, concerning a limitation or abridgment of your human right. And then the judge and the lawyer starts to play games and starts taking actions aimed at the destruction of your right, and you see what they're doing. Well, then you take note and you take the evidence, and when you're done in that court, you build your information and you lay your charge against the judge and against the lawyer for what they did. And once you lay your information, if the judge or the lawyer sends a crooked police officer your way to try and intimidate you, to try and get you to stop your information, well, then you lay a charge against them for conspiracy with the judge and with the lawyer. And they'll get the message very quickly. We better get away from this man. We better get away from this woman, or we're going to find ourselves in jeopardy. And I'm not talking about the television show Jeopardy. I'm talking about jeopardy of your job, jeopardy of your position, because the actions that you're taking are against human rights. And you are taking actions that you have no shield to protect you from. Oh, but you're not a lawyer. You're not a member of the bar. To the same end, everyone has the right individually, subsection C, to offer and provide professionally qualified legal assistance. Well, like I said, you're not a lawyer. You're not a member of the bar. You can't provide professionally qualified legal assistance. Oh no, I know that, and I would never want to be. But we are an or, and we fit into the or. And it says, or other relevant advice and assistance in defending human rights. So you as an individual, you have the right to offer relevant advice and assistance to anyone who is defending human rights. And you need not be a member of the bar. That's why when you look into the DRR, you find this operation of law in existence being brought forth for us as individuals who are not lawyers, who are not members of the bar. Everyone has the right individually. Well, what right do you have, Mr. Individual? What right do you have, man or woman who are listening to this video? Well, you have the right to know, to seek, to obtain, to receive, and hold information about all human rights, including having access to information as to how those rights are given effect in domestic, legislative, judicial, or administrative systems. You have the right to freely publish, impart, disseminate to others' views, to other individuals, the information and knowledge on all human rights. And you have the right as an individual to form and hold opinions, to discuss these opinions on the observance, both in law and in practice, of all human rights, and through these and other appropriate means to draw public attention to those matters. That's your right. You can stand under them and you can exercise them, and in doing so, it provides you the ability to defend human rights. I will be making a video soon about how to lay an information before a justice of the peace.